Mission After Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bledsoe, and I'm going to do it again this week. Last week I read a chapter out of my book, and this week I'm going to do it again, and we're going to see that probably for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then we're going to jump back into some interviews. So this is a second version of the first chapter, so it'll probably end up being a combination of the two. And so we'll kick it off right here. Oh, and before we get in, make sure to go over to themissionafter.org, click the button over there. I only put one. They all go to the same place, and that's to our free community for veterans. We got a lot of really cool conversations happening there. I've got some free education in there, and there's a really solid group of people that are already in there hanging out and supporting each other. So go check it out at themissionafter.org. All right, now for the version 2 of chapter 1. In the 18 years since I left the military, I've learned one of many truths I'll share with you right here. We've been at war for far too long, and we get to recognize that the war starts within men, inside of us. Until man knows peace within, we will not have peace without. I'm here for the movement to world peace. In 2005, I had served in the Navy for 4 years. I had been frocked the rank of first class petty officer. That's an E6 for you non-Navy folks. And the conversations with my superiors for reenlistment started to become beyond annoying. They dangled a $40,000 reenlistment bonus, tax-free, in my face, and they offered me a couple of cushy options for my next command, Hawaii or Italy. But the problem was, I felt an overwhelming sense of wanting more out of life, wanting more for myself, and I could feel the limitations of the military even if my mind couldn't fathom what was beyond it. All I knew is that I was meant for something more. And I bet you know that feeling, even if it's really quiet. It's in there, nudging you, making you uncomfortable. It's an ember burning, waiting to be stoked into a flame. Even if you've already gotten out, you might be recognizing that. And maybe you didn't know that feeling was there until you just heard these words right now. And that's good enough. It's in all of us. And mine was brought to my awareness while reading a book called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. It's a powerful novel highlighting a rebellious architect who broke all the rules of style and created incredible structures that only those who were also following their hearts could appreciate. That text brought my awareness to that part of me. It had been asleep. A lifetime of being told how and who to be made it easy to miss. And there it was, causing dissatisfaction. I started talking about getting out, and everyone thought I was crazy, primarily because I had been so successful at my job. I was on more than one occasion brought into different offices to be yelled at about staying in. I was called names, told that I would fail outside the military, and the overall hostility was shockingly high for something that is such a personal decision. And, in their defense, they'd never gotten out, and their fear was being projected onto me. I was making the next biggest decision of my life, and they were trying to command me to do something other than follow my heart. They didn't know what that was like. Each conversation brought me more dissatisfaction. After months of conversations, I told them I was out. It felt good. It also felt fucking scary. And that was good, because I was following my heart, and I saw myself engaging with the fear of the unknown. The fear. Let me count the ways. There's a lot to choose from. 1, taking a pay cut and moving in with my parents. Deep down, I was afraid of looking like a loser. And in fact, it wasn't even a pay cut. It was totally inconsistent income. Uh, Definitely less and inconsistent. Another fear was I would be more miserable out of the military than when I was in. I'd learned that I was done when I got to college. My high school peers had graduated and had already gotten their corporate gigs, and I was behind. Another sense of feeling like a loser. I was also afraid that women wouldn't date me because I was damaged and no good. Now for the guilt. I didn't do enough. I also felt guilt that I had made about the mistakes that I had made, and I felt like I needed to make up for them. And I was only going to be able to do that by being in. One of which is I didn't finish what I intended to do when I got in, and that was to complete the BUDS training, as the SEAL training. Now, at 4 years, I ended up extending my enlistment for 5 months in order to finish a deployment. So my total active duty was 4 years and 5 months. When I got out, there was no job or any idea what I wanted to study in college, just this big empty space and new bills I didn't have to pay before, i.e., health insurance. I saw a lot of guys get out and come right back in within a few months because of this. We veterans have something to overcome that you won't find in many places. The indoctrination process is thorough, and the consequences of disobeying a command is severe. So when you're in the military, the commander's intent is ever present in your consciousness, on or off duty. Even if you don't know what the commander's intent is, it's a lot more common for officers to be aware of this particular part of the military. A lot of enlisted, especially at the lower ranks, don't know. But the commander's intent is powerful. One man or woman setting the intention for something to happen, an entire force of humans strategizing, focusing, and executing in order to meet the objective. In order for this to work, we have to put ourselves aside. We stop thinking if something is right or wrong. There's no room for that. There's only room for the commander's intent. And if you hesitate, it can cost lives. And by the way, a large part of the military acts like everything is critical and urgent all the time. And that style of leadership can be crushing. It's really how you get high performers to leave a lot of times. So what happens when a person leaves the military? The commander is gone. We don't know what to do. We know how to do a lot of things, but for what? Without a commander, there is no mission. And a man or woman without a mission will inevitably feel no purpose. Yes, everyone gets a couple weeks of training to be a civilian. You might know it as TAP class or TAPS before they get out so that they can learn how to write a resume and take advantage of VA benefits. That's where that ends. And guess what? A lot of people get good assistance from the VA and score a good job when they get out. But that's not everyone. And even those who jump straight into a new job are missing something. If you're about to get out or have been out for a decade, I recommend getting something straight. Exiting the military and building a life of fulfillment isn't a cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk for anybody. And for many, it's a more difficult task than what it took to get into the military and receive the initial training. So get that in your headspace right now and be prepared for the biggest mission of your life. Thank you for joining me for the alternative version of chapter 1. Would love to hear your feedback on if you liked the last chapter better, if you like this chapter better, and or if there were pieces of the last chapter and things you'd like to see combined. So would love to hear that feedback. It's easy for me to receive that feedback over at the Mission After. You go to themissionafter.org and join the community. I'm there to chat. You can send me private messages. You can do it out in the broader community to have conversations. So I hope to see you over there. Talk soon.